1 minute, and then we'll begin our MPC meeting. 30 seconds. Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you? Good. We're good to go, Catherine? Okay. Well, it is 10 a.m., so I'm going to call this meeting to order, the County of Newell Municipal Planning Commission meeting for March the 6th. Welcome, everyone. I'm Kelly Chrisman, and I'll chair the MPC meeting. And we do have visitors today, so let's do a round of introductions. I'll call this meeting to order. Start with you, Neil.
Morning, my name is Neil Johnson. I'm Councillor for Division 10 around Brooks.
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Duchess area.
Welcome, good morning. Ellen Unra, and I represent the countryside around the village of Rosemary.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Greg Screever. I'm Division 5, Lake Newell Resort and Castles area.
And I'm from Division 6, which is the northwest corner of the County of Newell.
Good morning, Arnold Dirksen, Division 9 in the GEM area. Welcome.
Morning, Matt Fensky, Chief Administrative Officer.
Welcome, Holly Johnson, Division 4, Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Good morning, Adina Scandrip, Division 2, Hamlet of Tilly and area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Shore from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area. Welcome.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Cheryl Page, Planning and Development Administrative Assistant.
Good morning, Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Shannalee Simpson, Development Officer.
Hi, I'm Maria Jackson, Supervisor of Planning and Development.
Vicki Alberts, Duchess Egg Society and Duchess Arena Board.
Paula Hofer, Bow City Manager. Jacob Hofer, Second Minister, Bow City.
Nathan Fontaine, Land Supervisor for the Eastern Irrigation District.
Matthew Horvath with Decom Energy Solutions out of Lethbridge. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Let's begin our meeting, recognizing that everybody is present around the MPC table. Minutes, item 3. They're in our package. How do you wish to handle them? Adina.
I move we approve the minutes.
Are there any questions, comments? All in favor of Adina's motion? That is carried. Are there any post-agenda items for this MPC meeting? Seeing staff nods, a motion to accept the agenda then would be in order. Lynette. Lynette makes a motion to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Item 6, development report. Shannalee, is that yours?
Yes, I can answer questions on the development part, permit report.
All right, nothing you want to highlight?
Well, the soil synergy is kind of exciting. We have a couple things coming our way for businesses, so it's really picking up this spring, so that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Good, thank you. Ellen, question?
I just wonder if you could help me. What is a RTM dwelling? What does that stand for?
Sure, Shannalee.
An RTM dwelling is ready to move.
Okay. Any other questions for Shannalee on her development permit here? Report, permitted use report. It has been busy. It's longer than usual. We accept that for information then? Great, thank you. Subdivisions, Maria is here to take us through this. Item 7.1.
Thank you. The purpose of subdivision application 2025-0-001 is to subdivide an approximate 125.5 acre parcel from the east half of 1818 for agricultural purposes. The proposed subdivision is located 10 kilometers northwest of Bow City and 1 kilometer east of the Bow River. There are no residential developments in the vicinity of the proposed subdivision. Both parcels will continue to be used for agricultural purposes. The land that is to be subdivided is being utilized for dryland farming. There is a gravel extraction operation adjacent to the proposed subdivision, but this does not encroach on the proposed subdivided parcel. There were no objections or concerns received from adjacent landowners or referral agencies. Municipal reserve is not applicable in this instance, and it is recommended that MPC approve the subdivision with conditions.
Thank you, Maria. Are there questions from MPC? Holly.
Good morning. I don't understand the reason for this. Can you give us some background to it?
Gentlemen? Nathan, you'll enlighten us?
Yeah, so the purpose for the subdivision is that the Eastern Irrigation District is looking to buy some land from the Bow City Hydrite colony. So the subdivided parcel would be the lands that they would be retaining, and we would be purchasing the remainder of those quarter sections.
Amanda.
It states that a high potential to contain a historical resort or resource. What's that pertaining to?
Maria.
We get a file from the Alberta government that shows where areas are likely to have historical resources. So that may be paleontological or say native artifacts. If it's environmentally significant, then it could be that it's either near a river, that it has native grasslands, different things like that. So from a subdivision perspective, it is important for the landowners to know that this is there. And it really becomes applicable when they decide to develop. So during the development permit stage, we'll have to refer it to Alberta Environment or the minister responsible for historic resources. And generally what the feedback we get from them is if you are building, you're digging, you're doing whatever, if you happen to come across a leopard frog or a dinosaur bone, then you have to stop. And then it's your duty as a Alberta resident to report that and do what's necessary at that time.
Any other questions on this application or direction? Go ahead, Neil.
I'd like to move it. It sounds all okay to me.
Mm-hmm. So as recommended? Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of Neil's motion? That is carried. Thank you for coming in, Nathan, to answer those questions. I suspect that this is maybe some gravel for Snake Lake project, potentially. All right. And thank you to the Mr. Hofers for coming in as well. Much appreciated. You're welcome to stay on. Sorry? Okay, all right. 7.2, Maria, please.
Thank you. This subdivision is application number 2025-0-002. The application is to subdivide an approximate 92.1 acre parcel directly south of the application that you just heard, so in the east half of 361718, for agricultural purposes. So again, this is located northwest of Bow City and directly adjacent to the Bow River. The lands to be subdivided is currently being used for grazing purposes. There are no residential developments in the vicinity of the proposed subdivision, and both parcels will continue to be used for agricultural purposes. There were no objections or concerns received from adjacent landowners or referrals. Municipal reserve is not applicable, and it is recommended that MPC approve the subdivision with the conditions.
Thank you, Maria. Questions? Dan?
No, this is the same as the last one. I'll just move that we approve it as recommended.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of Dan's motion? That is carried. Development permits, 8.1. Shanley will take this.
Thank you. Development permit 2025-007 and 008 are for the same landowner and the same applicant, but at separate locations. They're both for ground mount solars. The first one, 007, is for a ground mount solar 2 miles west of the village of Rosemary that's larger than the 56 square meters, making it a discretionary use in agricultural general. And it's going to be on used for agricultural purposes. There was no issues or concerns from staff. Fortis Alberta responded they would like the landowner to contact them to confirm their distance and go through a safety orientation. There was no response from adjacent landowners. We're recommending approval with conditions, and Matt is here from the solar company to answer questions.
Thank you, Shanley. Are there questions of Shanley or of Matt regarding the solar array? Holly.
On the maps, just the legend, what is the production DBO? What does that stand for?
Go ahead, Shanley.
Thank you. The legend, so the purple lines are, the DBO, I'm not actually sure what that means. That's an IT thing, but the purple lines are the utilities, the right, like not like the right of way of the utilities, and the red lines are the property lines.
Any other questions? Sure, Greg.
Hi, Matt. Welcome again. How long does it take to set one of these up and get them up and going and ready for electricity production?
It actually takes longer in the development process than it does to install on the ground. Usually there's a couple of steps to it. The first one would be to make sure that the utility can accept the generator interconnection. Solar projects of the micro generation regulation variety that we tend to handle, it's an offset of load. So what they need to do is the utility needs to make sure that if that load is not producing, especially in irrigation districts, that the wires can handle the generated amount of electricity. That process is supposed to take 14 days, but has actually started getting into 6 months to 12 months, which is problematic in our industry. And then after that, we go into a development package where we put together a design and try to present that to development. And then if there's any changes at development, we have to go back to the utility. And then it just becomes a little bit of a snowball. So, you know, by the time we get a package together and get it in front of the fine folks here, we end up taking another month or two, depending on how long that, you know, goes. Then after that, we are able to finally say that the project has a green light. Then we have to start our engineering on the foundations. So we go and send in a geotechnical investigation. They test the soils and everything like that. We come up with a design for that. That process can take 2 to 3 weeks. From that design, we start procuring equipment, and that can take another couple of weeks, if not a month. And then by the time everything's laying on the ground there, it usually takes us a week or two. But it's the months prior that, that takes the most time. But, and then Fortis has to actually make sure that the meter and the electrical inspection come back before we can turn it on. So from here on out, a couple of months is probably the goal line to get this up and running. Thanks.
Thank you. Ellen?
So this is for agriculture purposes, probably pivots running, probably. Well, with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the development permit with conditions.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. In a situation like this, Matt, and it's a technical question, so it's yours, would the farmer disconnect from three-phase power?
Under the regulation, we wouldn't have a disconnection in an off-grid situation. Under this regulation, we're allowed to basically add up how much electricity gets used over 12 months and then design a solar system that generates the same amount of electricity over 12 months. So the equipment that connects to the three-phase power there has to be accepted by the utility to generate into the grid. It has to conform with standards, and the newest ones being the UL 1741 SB standard. So we have grid settings on all of our inverters that connect to the grid. So it's parallel. It doesn't disconnect. We don't just go on batteries and solar panels. It's an offset type system.
Okay, thank you. Lynette?
So this size of unit is only going to be enough to run what he needs it to run, and you're not actually allowed to have anything bigger? Is that what I'm understanding?
It's a little bit of a, it's not that great, but there's a little bit of technicality around it. The microgeneration regulation in Alberta was set forth quite some time ago, actually, as long as I remember working in this industry, 11 years or so. What happened is Ontario had feed-in tariff type programs, and with that they could basically build the generator as large as they want and participate in the pool. Microgeneration was set up to kind of not incur large fees of solar to other ratepayers around in the area. So the regulation stipulates that we have that 12-month amount. So the interesting part is maybe a little too technical, but it doesn't just run the pumps, because we can't actually create enough electricity off of the, well, these systems might, but in general, you wouldn't be able to run your pumps just off the solar system, because pumps in the irrigation district run 3 to 4 months, 5 months out of the year. We have to do the math over 1 year. So I'm not allowed to export huge amounts of electricity. So the net will be equal, but the systems being paralleled means that if the pumps are drawing more power than the electricity can provide from the solar panels, then we just pull off grid to supplement. And if we're generating more power than the pumps are using, then it goes back to grid. I can't tell you exactly in this scenario that the pumps are 100% ran by the solar 24/7, but I can tell you that the net over 12 months is equal.
Sounds like a great use of a dry pivot corner. Okay, Greg has another question.
Yeah.
We have a motion.
One more question, Matt. It's similar to a residential in that aspect where you can only put a certain amount up for residential. I know you're not in the residential side. On the commercial side, does it apply to commercial applications also the same way as agriculture?
Yeah, so I do some residential. I just don't market aggressively for it. Sorry for that extra clarity, but we do residential installations year after year. The governing regulation, being microgen regulation, applies to everything that's under 5 megawatts of electricity. So we can, that's a very large number. That's I'm actually working with another municipality in the south here. We put in a private distributed generator that's not microgeneration. At 4 megawatts, we actually have to be careful, because at times we can actually power the entire town. So we actually have to have controls on our system there to make sure that it's not flowing the wrong way, the electricity. So, it works the same. And in the microgeneration regulation, if you have an electrical meter and it's on the same feeder, there's some conditions and there's some technicality, but if you have an electrical meter, an electrical bill, under the regulation, we're allowed to design to offset your electricity consumptions. And so commercial, residential, we don't really differentiate. We just figure out what the financials are on it, if it works or if it doesn't work, and then proceed with FID, financial investment decision, or not. But yeah, we do all that development work ahead of time.
Thank you. Very interesting. We have a motion. Neil made a motion to approve as recommended. Oh, Ellen did this time. Okay, that was last time. Thank you. Ellen's motion to approve as recommended. All in favor of Ellen's motion? That is carried. Thank you, Matt, for coming in and answering our questions. That's much appreciated. We had no other business identified. 8.2, I scrolled down too far. Installation of another solar array. Gee, I'm excusing people so quickly today. I don't know what's happening. Let's go ahead with that. Shanalee, thank you.
Thank you. So this is the same. The only difference is it's a different location. There is a development on the other parcel. There was a response from Pioneer Gas that no ground disturbance could be within 30 meters of the pipeline. However, the pipeline is been a challenge to locate where it is exactly. So the applicant has been in discussions with Pioneer Gas, and when they do their first call, that will be identified, and if they need to move it slightly, there is room to do that in that corner. We're recommending approval with conditions on this one as well.
Okay. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to approve with recommendations.
Okay. Are there any new questions? Matt.
I'd like to just say this is one of those cart and horse things. Again, we don't do the land scans until we know that, permitting approvals and other things are in place before we start doing our final designs and engineerings. So yeah, in the past, we've ran into this. It's a common thing. We'll do a dry corner and realize there's a gas line that used to feed a pivot or a pump, or, they used to run that. And usually there's two methods to solve that. We're going to attempt to just move it out of the 30-meter setback that they're requesting. In some cases, I get a little bit sticky and actually go after them a little bit to say, can you show us where you have that registered, that right of way, that setback? I don't think there's any need for that in this week. I think we can move it back. But the other option we've done with ATCO as well is entered into an easement to just be closer. Typically, they don't, as long as we've identified it, hydrovac it, cleaned it up, and we're aware of exactly where the gas line is. Typically, we don't need 30 meters to the gas line, but just wanted to, for clarity. Thank you.
Great. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of Greg's motion? That is carried. One step closer. Back to the drawing board. Okay. Item 9, we had no other business identified. Post-agenda items, there were none. Any reason for in-camera? Seeing none. Any questions in the queue, Catherine? None? Okay. I'll adjourn this meeting.
Okay, thanks. Let's take Looks like we have a pretty busy today with a number of appointments right till 1 o'clock today, so that's all good. I'll call this meeting to order, and I think we've got 10 councillors here, so no one needs to be excused. But we'll get right into the business. We have the minutes of the February 20th, 2025 meeting that have been circulated. Are there any errors or omissions, or a motion to approve them as circulated? Holly?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Are there any post-agenda items that anyone has to add? Or a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Adina, please. You have all in favor of the motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Question period or notices of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion? Or are there any questions online? Seeing none, we'll move on. We do have a public hearing at 11:30, but Mr. Todd Green is here and prepared to give us a ASB update, right? Yeah. Welcome.
Good morning. Happy to see everybody. Just a quick little informal updates on some of the fun things we've been up to, just in case you didn't know what was going on. We had a great hiring season this year. Our ads went out kind of early-ish, middle January. We did our interviews during the family week. We find the family week is good to get some of our university students back home and take up some of their time to meet them. So everything has been signed off, and we are excited to have everybody come back. Not everybody's coming back, but have everybody start. We'll be getting our first seasonal positions filled in middle of April, so about April 10th. We'll get some of our longer-term seasonals in, and we have a long list for them started already. We were lucky to get our capital purchasing done in late January, so hopefully to stave off any price increases. We don't anticipate purchasing anything that comes with any additional prices, so hopefully everything works out in our favor that way. We have our chemicals out for quotes right now. Sort of the long and short of that is I think we're probably going to see similar prices to what we had last year. In our initial conversations with some of the suppliers, it sounded like they had purchased products before any potential increases, so we should be in good shape that way. And I mean, the weather has been absolutely gorgeous the last 3 weeks. So you know what happens in the spring, we get Emerson up and running. So the guys have been peeling the old shower stall walls apart and putting new ones back in. I don't know if you guys have showered at Emerson before, but they kind of get dingy over the years of, shower grime, whatever we're washing off ourselves. So just a time for a little bit of an update there. And then Will has, can everybody hear me? Will has some additional pathways that he's got planned. So the municipal services guys are going to be out there brushing out that. So exciting times. It's also spring. We've seen a few gophers. So we built 40 more gopher bait stations to utilize the ZP rodent bait. We have some out at our CDC property in partnership with the province on that, as well as the guys will be putting them out in our hamlets and Bizano, wherever Kelly is here pretty quick if they're not there already. So trying to get ahead of those populations. Excited to say our major equipment repairs are done. The final drill went out of the shop last week, and that's an exciting thing to have done. CCIP, 852 coyotes came in between January and February, so that's kind of right on target. I would be excited if we got 852 more in March, but that is not my place to be. I was checking cows last night, and I bet I could count 10 different voices singing out there last night. They were just unbelievable. I assume they're all over at Adina's house, but they sounded a lot closer. Kind of gives a guy a chill in the back of his spine. And I'm quite excited for spring. We turned right from the dead of winter into warm weather, and drill rentals started flying in, not going out, but guys looking for preparations. And yeah, it's just we are super excited about this spring. It's been a long winter and we're ready. So that's kind of the, I guess the highlights. I mean, everybody knows we've been pumping our tires on CDC South and of course building maintenance stuff, but that's not always so flashy and exciting.
Thank you, Todd. You're open to questions. Are there any? Holly, go ahead, please.
Two, actually. First of all, we haven't seen any gophers in Scandia, which makes us really happy, but where are you seeing gophers? And secondly, how do we register for the tree day? I haven't seen anything.
The tree day should be just call Austin or Jolene. Yep, for sure. I believe it all went out in the paper and then social media as well. You know, did you want a specific email? Because we can do that. I know I can get.
Sorry, if it doesn't come through my email, I might not see.
It's very important to read the Brooks Bulletin. I find out a lot of great information there, and we really appreciate the information that comes out that way. Sorry, and we've seen a couple gophers out at CDC actually. So yeah, I've spent way too much time over there. I love it. I love it. And Candace, I think, is listening online, so she has to hear me say, I love it.
Okay, that's good. Any other questions? Drinking out of a fire hose, right?
Doing a good job.
Yeah, that's good. We're glad you're working on that. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Motion to approve your, not really. No, we just kind of soak it in. Absolutely. Good. Okay. Thank you.
We'll just keep going through the admin stuff. We'll get Stephanie up.
Yeah, let's carry on 11.1. Stephanie's here. Welcome, Stephanie. You'll take us through the restricted surplus review and approval for the year-end transfers. Welcome.
Good morning. So I'm here with the request. The county's the county's restricted surplus policy requires an annual review of all surplus funds and reporting the results to the review for council. Finance is seeking council's approval for the proposed transfers to restricted surplus, which will impact the final balance held at year end. So inside here, I have what I am proposing to do for our year-end transfer, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there questions? Basically good news, I think, isn't it? Go ahead, Kelly.
I'll make a motion to approve that policy, option 1.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions, all in favor of the motion, please indicate. That's carried.
Thank you.
That was painless. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Now let's move on to, excuse me, policy review. Policy 014-25, which is the restricted surplus, right? Matt, you've got that?
Yeah, so as I was reviewing Stephanie's RFD for the restricted surplus transfer, and as we've been a little bit behind our typical schedule for year end, and we're in a bit of a panic of, well, is council going to approve this transfer or not approve the transfer? And council has always approved the year end transfer recommended by finance. I thought, why are we doing this to ourselves? Can we empower the controller to get through the year-end transfer on her own, understanding the philosophy behind our restricted surplus policy? The controller would still come back and complete the final review with council so you can see where the savings accounts are sitting at. You just, in that RFD that Stephanie provided, you wouldn't be making a motion to approve that transfer. So if that is amenable to council, it will grease the wheels on our year-end process and remove a little bit of anxiety for administration meeting our deadlines for when the auditor shows up.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Are there questions? Greg, go ahead.
Just wondering, Matt, what's the reason it was originally done? Like, why would it have been? Why is it there?
Yeah, so it's there because your former finance manager proposed that it be there for a level of oversight. And over the years, the county has gradually been increasing what is socked away for future asset replacement. This year, we have finally hit what we have accumulated in amortization, or in layman's terms, what you've used out of the value of your fixed assets, you've now got set aside for their future replacement. So it was thought at the time that it would be an appropriate oversight, giving council some control over what goes into restricted surplus. That opportunity still exists if in the future the controller comes back, takes council through the restricted surplus review, and council feels like there might be more in a certain fund than they would like to see. We can always do a transfer in year or as part of the budget process. So that door's still open to shuffle dollars as county sees fit. But it does give license to the controller to make the transfer and close out the financial statements in preparation for the year-end audit.
Okay, thanks for that explanation, Matt. Answers your question. Go ahead, Greg.
So when things are good, and they are good right now, that this all seems quite understandable. When things are not as rosy, would there be, are we taking any control out of council if things aren't good? Yeah, what's the, is there any, are we opening ourselves up for any problems there?
Go ahead, Matt, please.
Not that I can anticipate, no.
Because we've always got input into what the final numbers will be and how they're distributed, correct? Kelly, go ahead, please.
And what I see this doing is, as Matt alluded to, without out and saying it, it allows them to finish up the financial statement without waiting for a certain date of council. Yeah, so I would make a motion to approve as recommended, as amended.
As presented.
As presented.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ready for the question? All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I've got an appointment at 11 o'clock, so if I can be excused, I'll be back right after that meeting is over.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Let's move to item number 11.3, approval to sell surplus county-owned lot in Patricia Lane. Welcome. Good morning.
There's a real estate boom in Patricia.
Yes.
We do have a lot that we have had for some time, a small 25-foot frontage lot. The adjacent property was recently acquired by some individuals that have expressed interest in purchasing that individual lot and tying it into the activities that are taking place adjacent to it. Council approval is required. We're seeking approval to proceed with the sale of that property.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarity, in that as you just indicated, that land will be incorporated into the existing lot, effectively removing this lot from
correct
unique existence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Neil.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with what you're suggesting, but do we put things up for bid or auction, or do we just make it, decide deals where somebody comes in and just wants to buy it and we just sell it to them without giving somebody else a chance because the other neighbor might want it? I have a little problem with.
Yeah, no, and that's a good question. We property that has been identified as surplus has been advertised on the website. This particular one, that has not been the case. It's a 25-foot lot. There is no other, we wouldn't want to see somebody else acquire that and try to develop it. What we've been trying to do is reduce the number of titles in Patricia and increase the lot sizes. So in this case, the only potential sale that we would recommend pursuing is to the adjacent landowner on condition that it be consolidated. You do have a policy in place that allows council to accept offers that are submitted on condition that they come in at market value, and this is the value that the assessor has set for that property.
Okay, thank you. That answers your question, Neil. Okay, Lynette, go ahead, please.
Just a comment, it's on the corner too, so it wouldn't make sense for anyone else. Right?
Okay, thank you. Holly?
I'd like to motion that we accept the recommendation in the RFD and sell the lot.
Okay, move to accept or move forward with the recommendation as indicated. Any further questions? All in favor, please indicate. Okay, that is carried. Thanks, Lane. And we move on to the next one, right? 11.34, yeah. City of Brooks request to join Newell Regional Emergency Management Partnership. Eh?
Yes, so the county, the village.
Sorry,
yeah, it's on.
I shut you off. I didn't
Okay,
mean to do
sorry.
that. I thought it was me.
A few years back, the county and Bassano, Rosemary, and Duchess formed a regional partnership for disaster purposes. The city was not involved in it at that time. They have requested an opportunity to become a partner in that arrangement. The way the agreement was originally set up was that if there is going to be interest from another municipality, then it gets referred to the Regional Emergency Advisory Committee. That group is meeting on April 1st. We anticipate that the response is going to be favorable, at which point we would be coming back to council with a request to move forward with amendments to the agreement. For the time being, the recommendation is to receive this for information, knowing that it's starting a process that was anticipated when the partnership was originally established.
Right, so we have no action to take today. This is just for information until it gets recommended. Go ahead, Holly.
So Lane, were the costs to this point all covered by a grant? I can't remember what the financial piece was.
Correct. It was a grant that the town of Bassano managed on behalf of the partners.
So there's no cost to anyone outside of that grant at this point in time, and staff time, that was it?
That's the case.
Okay, any further questions? Thanks, Lane. Appreciate that. Go ahead. Yep.
Is there time to deal with the fire bylaw as well? Okay.
Take that later, yeah. Can we move on to 11.4? Pardon me, 11.5. That's naturally the next one, yeah. Request for proclamation of Resiliency Week, April 6th to 12th. Ariana, have you got more details, or we've got them presented to us? It's pretty straightforward, eh?
Yeah, so we did it last year, I think 2 previous years. So they're looking for a proclamation, and there's also, they want someone to attend the Resiliency Day celebration, which I believe is April 8th. So that was approved last year as a function of council. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, someone have some direction for us on that to approve resiliency, proclaiming Resiliency Week? Amanda? Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. And should we also make a function of council out of someone attending that event? Neil?
I would like to make that motion. That's a function of council.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate.
I'm confused before you call the question.
Oh, go ahead.
So that's going to be a function of council for all of council or one councillor?
I think one councillor.
Yeah.
I think that's what they've requested, right? To have someone attend, right?
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Adina.
So if it's going to be one counselor, should we decide today who that one counselor will be that goes to the?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Yeah. Let's vote on the Sorry, you got a question, Holly?
I was just going to say, I know I've attended. I don't know who hasn't attended and would like to go to it. Is there, if anybody, like those of us have gone, a lot of us have gone, so it'd be nice for someone who hasn't attended in the past to have that opportunity, I think.
Okay, thank you. Let's just make it a function of council first. All in favor of the motion as indicate, that's carried. Now who would like to go? Is there someone that wishes to attend that? Sure. Lynette, would you be interested in going, willing to go? And haven't been? That's good. Okay. All in favor of the Lynette attend on our behalf, that is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Lynette. $11.3, Councillor, 6. Having trouble with numbers today. Councillor payment sheets. Do we have any discussion about that or a motion to accept Councillor payment sheets as circulated? Any comments from the committee? No? Someone prepared to make a motion to approve? Holly.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor, please indicate. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Requests for functions of council.
I sent 2 emails to everybody, one for Halo AGM.
Okay, one for the Halo AGM, Neil?
I was going to say if it's Silver Sage, I'd volunteer for that one, but you're on Halo.
Oh, okay, Matt, I probably missed that.
Yeah, Halo AGM, Thursday, March 27th, 6:15 in Medicine Hat. An invite has come for consideration, and then there was another I sent to council this morning. An invitation has been extended to some of the administrative staff involved with CDC South and the REEV to attend the Integrated Agriculture Technology Center Local Producers Dinner Gala, which is a mouthful, hosted by Lethbridge Polytechnic in Lethbridge, April 11th. So that would be a potential function of council for consideration for the REEV.
Okay, thank you. Let's take the Halo AGM first, right? That is March 27th, you said? 6 p.m.? 6:15. Do we want to make that a function of council, and are there, should we have 2 people to attend on our behalf, or what are your thoughts? Or what are your thoughts generally? Do you, go ahead.
Have we in the past? No.
We have not been to their AGM in the past? No. Okay.
Send them $100,000, might not be bad.
Yeah, we contribute $100,000 a year. I think that it wouldn't hurt to have someone attend the for connection, if nothing else. Adina?
I'd like to make it a motion, make a motion that it's a function of council for 2 to attend the Halo AGM.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Who would like to go on March the 27th, and who should attend on our behalf? 2 councillors. Kelly, you're volunteering to go? Okay. Who else would be interested and willing to attend? Lynette? Okay, thank you. All in favor that Kelly and Lynette attend on our behalf, please indicate. That's good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now moving on to Silver Sage Ag Society meetings. Ariana, they have a request, correct?
That is correct. So they've, the RFD contains a background because we were on the board when they were taken over by the province. And then when that was done, we ceased our participation on their board. So now they've requested that we come back, which is nice. So.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Go ahead, Lynette.
Well, my only comment is there's a lot of ag societies in our county, so are we going to put somebody onto every ag society? I don't know. They know that they are welcome to come and bring ideas, or if they're looking for help, to come and speak to us at any time. So I don't know that we need a rep there at every meeting.
Okay, thank you. Neil and then Kelly, please.
Yeah, if it wasn't, like they've been doing a little bit of lobbying, they have big plans, and I feel that Silver Sage is a little bit different than the other ag societies because they really do encompass the whole county. There's people there from every corner at most of their events. And what's that? I don't know. I think we should be on that board because I know that they're going to have some significant fundraising in the next 2 or 3 years. They're talking things like multi-use community hall, partnering with the town. It's not your typical ag society.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Appreciate that perspective. Kelly, go ahead.
So I take almost offense to the comments because our other ag societies are very active, and they have volunteers. I know of at least 3 counselors on our table that have sat on ag societies. Maybe there's up to 5. And so to say that one is more special or deserves a paid ticket to sit on the ag society is very, I don't see it as being any different than any other ag society in the county of Newell. We pay our membership at our ag societies. We go there, we participate, we fundraise, we work to the greater good for the community as volunteers. And so I question the reason for a member of council to be sent there as a paid delegate. That's my only concern here.
Okay, thank you. I think this is coming forward as a request from Silver Sage, and that's the reason that it's in front of us today. So accept your comments. Thank you. Holly, go ahead.
I was just going to comment that although I think it's a great organization, I think unless there's a specific project perhaps that need county eyes on or assistance with, I'm just thinking the Health Foundation has been here asking, it could really open a can of worms. So unless it was something very specific, I think we'd have trouble considering it.
Okay, thank you. Neil?
Yeah, the only specific is that they've got momentum going, and basically the town has put a counselor in there. Joel is on their board. That's the reason I'm speaking for it, just to be in the loop about what's going on over there. And a question, I'm not in the Ag Society, I've never participated whatsoever, but do you have to live in your area to join the Ag Society, or can anybody just come in and join? Because this one over here...
Anybody can join, and there are actually members on the Silver Sage Ag Society from other divisions.
Well, that's why I thought it was more community, like I didn't mean to offend any with anything I said. Actually, I did. But
I know you did.
Silver Sage is really all-encompassing. It's one of the only things that brings the county and the town and everybody together.
You're doing it again.
Don't take offense, but that's the way it is.
That is not true. We have a pro rodeo in Bassano. We have an amateur rodeo that is bigger, possibly, than some pro rodeos in our county. So to say that, Neil, is discounting the work that is being done around the county, not to mention the work that is being volunteered by other councillors around the table. So I do take more offense to your comment.
Okay, thank you. Adina, please.
I can understand, as you said, Neil, you don't have an ag society in your division, whereas several of us do and have attended meetings there as part of just being part of our division and not paid for it. So to have somebody then appointed, so then are we all going to be paid when we attend a Ag Society meeting? Because, you know, I've had several meetings last week in my community. Sure would have been nice to be paid for all of them, but I'm not expecting it.
Okay, thanks, Adina, or pardon me, Lynette, sorry.
When we talk about Councillor Goodenough being on that, is the city paying him to go, or is he a volunteer? Well, we don't know that for sure.
Neil, thank you. I don't know.
Yeah, personally, I think anybody on an ag society, as a county councillor, it keeps you in the loop. I don't have a problem paying every one of them. If you have them in your area and you go, you wouldn't be there if you weren't a county councillor. So why not get paid?
There's probably a variation to that. A lot of us do volunteer in our communities for various things. So I mean, I can see the rationale of having someone there on behalf of the county because of some of the work that they do or are proposing to do, but that's our decision. That's up to council completely. We're dealing with it today because we were invited to send someone to the Silver Sage Ag Society. So I think we've had a robust discussion. Go ahead, Lynette.
I would like to make a motion that we do not put a paid counselor onto the Ag Society at the Silver Sage.
Silver Sage, okay. We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Adina.
I mean, this is in your division, is it not, Greg? Like, could Greg not go to it on his own, like we go to our own division on our own?
I suppose, we're talking about the board of Silver Sage. It's the board we're talking about, so I don't know if they'd invite you to come ad hoc or not. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I've gone to the annual meetings. I haven't gone to the individual board meetings, but I just haven't. Yeah, the annual meetings I've gone to.
Okay, thank you. I mean, the uniqueness of this particular ag society in our county is that it probably has, the board is probably represented from across the region more than other ag societies. Many of the other ag societies kind of act as the community association for certain activities, right? Am I right? But we have a motion on the floor that we pass on this. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. One more time. Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, it being 11 o'clock. Vicki Alberts, you're here representing the Duchess Ag Society and skaters in Duchess, right? Yes. Welcome. Welcome here. I think that, did you meet everybody in the introductions earlier this morning? So I think we're familiar. Welcome here and thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you. I'm here today with the Duchess Ag Society and Duchess Arena Board. Our Ag Society takes care of our hall, arena, curling rink, and library, golf course, and our baseball diamonds as well. The project that I am here today to present is the renovation of the Duchess Arena. The renovation will see a significant investment in the facility that will meet the needs of the residents, stakeholders, and community today and into the future. Renovating the existing arena space will allow the facility to remain in operation and will help us meet today's building codes, operational efficiencies, and sustainable initiatives. I did send out a package. I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to go through it, but we've phased out a strategic plan. And so the phase that I am going to, the phase that we, I guess, need the money for most urgently is the first phase, which is our ice plant replacement. So I'll go through the package just quickly, and then if you have any questions, I can answer those questions. The main stakeholders of the arena are the Duchess Minor Hockey, which has 122 players, Duchess D's Pond Hockey, which is a fun league, which has 50 players, and the Rec League, which has approximately 60 players. We serve several different communities. We serve, I believe it's 7 out of the 10 divisions within the county. Also the village of Duchess, Rosemary, Bassano, special areas, Cypress County, and Wheatland County. So the first phase, the ice plant, we need to basically replace our whole plant. Our arena was built in 1998, but our ice plant came from our old arena, which is from 1989. So it's 36 plus years old. So there's the chiller, condenser, compressor, which would all be replaced. And then we would also need to add a dehumidifier, which we do not currently have. With this, though, we would also be converting over to ammonia from the current Freon is the trade name for it. I don't remember what the exact name for it. I included pictures of the chiller, the compressor, which was refurbished in 2011, 2012, the brine pump, which is currently leaking, the Resner fan, which is currently half operational. It's just been kind of patched together. Phase 2 of this plan would be the upper level. I've estimated that at $600,000. A lot of these estimates, though, are just that, estimates. We still need to actually get some estimates for phase 2, 3, and 4. The reason for the upper level renovation would be because oftentimes we are very close to our capacity, which is 299 people. And I don't know if any of you have been to one of the U13, U15, or U18 games. It's packed in our arena. And when the arena was built, it was built so that mezzanine could be renovated going forward. So that would increase our seating. It would also give us the ability to have specialized training equipment up there for shooting, etc., for the kids. And also currently, when we have teams there and they're doing dry land, they're often in the stands doing the dry land or in the corners, and it gets very congested. So we would move some of that up there. Also, currently, we do have a bar area, and we would move that to that second level. Yeah, shooting pucks, yes. Yes, shooting pucks, sorry. Yes, it's hockey. So then I also put some pictures of what we're talking about when we're talking about the second level. The kitchen, there has been some renovations and additions and replacements in the kitchen, but most of it is there from 1998. The flooring in the lobby is from then. So we would replace cabinets, countertops, install a larger sink. Currently we have the triple sinks, but it's residential size sinks, so it makes it hard for the ladies to be cleaning things properly. We do need another bar fridge, because what we've been doing is we get secondhand, which is fine, but currently we don't have a bar fridge. We just have a residential fridge for the bar fridge. And we need a new kitchen fridge because it's freezing things. And then upgrades to outlets, breakers. We need to replace our toilets, And another big thing that we've identified is the front doors. Wheelchairs can come in, but there's not the accessibility for someone in a wheelchair to open the door themselves. And then I've provided pictures of the kitchen and the lobby and the floors, etc. The fourth project would be the parking lot, because with the increase in people and hopefully the capacity increase, we would need more parking. We already are parking beyond our parking lot. We use the school parking lot, and oftentimes we overflow into residential areas, and I'm actually surprised we haven't had anyone file complaints with the village because of that. And then the last part of the fourth phase would be the Zamboni, to upgrade it to an energy efficient one. We did have our Zamboni breakdown a couple weeks ago now. Luckily, it was something simple, but in the meantime, we have had a Zamboni that is newer than ours. I believe ours is a 2001, and the new one is a 2012, which is functioning and in good condition, and so that has been donated. So we actually have 2 Zambonis now, so the fourth, part of that phase is not as critical as maybe it once was. And then I've just shown for the parking lot, though, we will have to go to the school and ask for more land on the south side. So yeah, that's the project. I have attached a couple of the quotes that we received for the ice plant, and it's an upgrade to the ammonia as well, so it's a replacement and upgrade. And then the one quote, we had received it, so number 2, we had received the quote, but then we had to go back and ask for the dehumidifier to be added on. And then we do also have another quote for a dehumidifier, which is substantially more than quote 2. We had a third quote, which we were asking for, but they refused to quote. A lot of these places will not quote unless they know, or not even quote estimate, sorry. They won't even estimate unless they know that they're getting the project. And then we do have a fourth estimate, which is using the current system and then not upgrading it to ammonia. So that would be another alternative, but we're just looking into the future and what is the best pathway forward.
Thank you. So you're basically at the front end of a plan. Is that?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, we are. So I came on to the Ag Board in November, and then the Arena Board a couple weeks later. And my agenda was actually just to get the second level done, because I could see that our numbers in our minor hockey have kind of exploded over the last couple of years. And so we need the room. And so that's what my agenda was. And then within a couple weeks, it was, hey, we actually need a plant.
A bigger plan.
Yes, so.
Okay, thank you. So do you have a specific ask for us today? Matt, or go ahead. Yeah.
Well, our specific ask would be for the funding for the first phase, but Matt has discussed with us possibly doing something for the whole project instead of us coming back. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to present the full project, so I don't have to come back to you and I'm getting questions, well, why now? Why? Because the renovation, the whole thing needs to be done. Nothing has really been put into the arena over the last couple years, because as an Ag Society, we are responsible for all of these other projects. And so the hall has taken precedence, and I mean, Amanda and Morgan can speak to that because they've been on there during those projects, but the arena really hasn't had much invested in it in the last, don't know, 10, 15 years.
No, that's good. And I think the broader picture of what's planned is good for us to know too. So that's good. Holly, you have a question?
Good morning. So the Ag Society funding has been a three-way split. Where is the Village of Duchess in helping with this project?
The village has been in the conversation. I believe they've been sent this package. Matt can probably speak to that a little more. And then also I did present on Monday night to the rec board there as well. So I think that the feeling that we're getting is that people are behind it. It's just, as Matt says, it's a money thing. It just depends on how we proceed forward. And yes, we are under the understanding that we have signed a third, so we will be responsible for a third of this project.
Okay, thank you, Matt. You've got some comments. I think you've done some work here. So.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to miss something, but I do want Vicki to come back and take some credit for the excellent statistics that the Ag Society has pulled together. It's something that the county's been asking for several years, and credit to Duchess Ag Society for these very detailed statistics, which give some insight into where folks are coming from. With respect to the ask today, this is a work in progress. Administration has been very motivated to shoehorn the ask from the Ag Society into the routine and get them some direction from council. When we met with the rec board on Monday night and understanding the constraint that we have within the current recreation services agreement, which allocates $60,000 a year from each partner for capital, and then seeing a proposed project for $1.3 million, which has to happen to keep those programs running out there, we've now got a math problem, right? So if annually each of the partners are good with the $60,000 commitment, not just for the 4-year term of the current agreement, but extending that for another 16 years beyond to repay potentially 2.25 million. The Ag Society is working on what that final amount will look like. What we'd be looking for from council today is agreement in principle that the project is worthy of being funded at the third cost share, and that these other projects which have been advertised today are also worthy of support. If that support is secured, administration over the next few weeks will finalize the dollar amount that the Ag Society would be looking for the county to guarantee a loan to the Ag Society to proceed with the work today. And then the annual repayments come out of that $60,000 commitment that each of the partners had made. So we'll be looking for a borrowing bylaw, which has to be advertised, and we'd be looking for a repayment agreement between the county, Ag Society, and Village, securing those annual payments coming back in. I did provide for council, as well as the rec board, Village of Duchess, and the Ag Society, some scenarios for what borrowing looks like today for various amounts, so from 2 to 2.5. Interest rates on a 20-year, which I think you're going to need to extend the amortization out to 20 years to have a little bit of dry powder from that $60,000 commitment. You don't use it all up, but you'll see 20-year borrowing at about 4.92% today. And those numbers are going to change as we move forward. But just to give a frame of reference for what may be achievable, the county is in excellent shape financially. We don't typically carry a lot of debt, so you do have capacity to borrow and guarantee the loan if that is council's wish. But I do think it is worth hearing Vicki talk about the growth in their program the last few years.
Yes, I appreciate that too, Neil, and then Amanda.
Yeah, you asked if the project was worthy. I think it definitely is worthy, and I commend you for the work you've done on it. I don't know if we can do it all at once, though, like get the ice plant going and make sure they're skating and then work on the rest. But I totally support it.
Thanks, Neil. Go ahead, Amanda, please.
Morgan, can you speak on if the ice plant is in and we get an early start, what does that look like?
I'm not very smart. It opens up for more options for kids to be out skating a little bit earlier. So we ran into the problem this year, there's just not enough ice in the county. So we couldn't get our kids on the ice for hockey. We were like 3 weeks to a month behind most other areas because Brooks was so busy with their ice. We were having a hard time even getting ice to rent in Brooks. Rosemary doesn't put their ice until November, and Rolling Hills, I believe, is around November too. So we are starting the season essentially a month behind every team we're playing. So it opens up revenue for spring, and it opens up options to get our kids on the ice earlier and get started in accordance with other areas.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And with the new ice plant, would we be open all season? Could we be open all season?
The option would be there to be open all year, yes. So if we had interest for spring hockey, that would open up revenue opportunities for the arena and give kids the opportunity to continue playing hockey locally rather than, I know some kids that are going to Lethbridge this spring out of our Duchess minor hockey, there's 5 or 6 of them. There's also been kids that have gone to Lethbridge in past years and gone to Irvine to play spring hockey because there's just not enough around here for that. So.
Okay, thank you. Holly, go ahead.
Hi. So when you're looking at a huge loan and looking at repaying it, I understand you're looking at the money you're getting to do those repayments from the county. So then that ties you up to doing anything else? Like, are you feeling confident with that kind of repayment schedule and still the ability to manage everything else that goes on?
I think at this point, we still need to take this back to our board. So the ask has been for the ice plant, and then we would like to phase it out, but Matt has suggested doing something bigger. So it is something that we have to definitely consider is, can we service the debt? Can we do this? So this is not something that I'm saying that, yes, we want the 2.5, which would service this whole project right away. Is it something where we could get the commitment and then we can do it in phases? And then with the ice plant, we cannot, because we need it right away, we can't really go for any grants. But for the other phases, I would love to be able to have the time to try and get some grants, because I'd rather do that than have to repay this huge amount of debt. I don't feel comfortable taking on a huge amount of debt, but if that's the only way, I guess that's what we do. But it's not my decision. We still have to take it back to our ag.
Have you done any fundraising outside of the government channels to this point?
So we have a U18 tournament coming up. So the funds from that, essentially, they are coming back to us. It'll be through the minor hockey, but it will come back to our arena.
Also, the arena, well, the Ag Society as a whole has been providing 5-year plans for 4 or 5 years. Obviously, they're always changing. But for the arena specifically, I know for a fact we've done cash raffle tickets fundraising for like the last 3 years for sure. And we've made close to $10,000 the first 2 years and close to $15,000 in fundraising this year just for the arena cash.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Greg, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for the presentation. I do notice and I do commend you on the statistics that you were able to give. That's really important, especially when we're trying to make decisions on these kind of funding requests. Now, the special areas, they have a significant number of people, kids, people coming and using the facility. Have you approached them at all for any funding? And even if you look at Cypress County, have you approached them for any funding?
Go ahead, Vicki.
So I have had mixed reviews on whether to go to those counties, but I have been approached by actually 2 mothers from special areas that said, 1, come to special areas, and 2, the Hardgrass, or it's the Berry Creek Egg Society out there. So I do think that we have some paths to getting some funds from the other areas. It's just that I've been working so much on this that it's been hard to go out and approach those people. Plus, I want a plan. I want to know exactly what we're doing, and a lot of people want to know, what is the county doing? That's a lot of their first question is, where's the county at with this, and then we can build it out from there.
I expect there will also be potential for support from some of the business community as well once you get a project that's identified. So what do we need today? How do we help move this forward so that you can go to the next step and we talk about this in a way that's realistic for us? Matt, you've done some thinking on this.
Yeah, so recommended option 1, that council approve funding in the amount of 1/3 of the cost to replace the Duchess Agricultural Society Arena ice plant, contingent on all necessary permits and approvals being in place prior to construction, and further, that council direct administration to prepare the necessary bylaw and repayment agreement authorizing a loan to the Duchess Agricultural Society to complete the projects identified in their 5-year capital plan. With that recommendation, it is broad enough to continue the work. The details are yet to be finalized. As has been indicated by Vicki, the Ag Society Board will need to get together and consider what their appetite is for their 1/3 share on the debt repayment. The Rec Board on Monday did make the recommendation for both councils to approve the ice plant, so that box has been checked as part of the provisions which are included in the Recreation Services Agreement. So really, administration is looking for license to spend some more time working with the Ag Society to find a formula that gets their projects complete.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Morgan, please.
Just one other thing, from the meeting on Monday, the way it was kind of broached to us was we've been diligent with our 5-year plans. So if we were to take the huge loan over 20 years, the plan would be to go through the whole current 5-year plan, do the necessary things. If there's flooring in 2 or 3 different facilities, do it all at once, try save money in demobilization and mobilization and parts and products. But then also, once you decide to go that route and you do the whole 5-year plan, we would change our 5-year plan from that to like a 10 and 20-year plan, so that in 20 years, if we have to do modifications or whatnot, maybe our 20-year plan is to get the curling rink closer to the arena or vice versa somehow, so that they're sharing one ice plant. So we're trying to get a broader view for the future, for the people that are going to be hopefully taken over for us one day.
Okay, thank you. But the description that Matt gave with regard to our direction today would give you the momentum you need to, or the indication, the commitment from us that to help continue moving forward to get things going. Hey, is that what you're saying, basically? Okay. Kelly, go ahead.
And just for clarity on the ice plant that you're proposing, it would run both ice surfaces? Is that what I heard you say? I mean, you're planning, long-range planning for that?
The one we would get now
Yeah.
would be for the arena, but when we extend our business plan at the Ag Society from 5 years to 10 and 20, we'd be looking 10 or 20 years down the road. If there'd be a possibility, instead of having an ice plant at the curling rink, that it could be moved to by the arena and use one ice plant to share. So we might have to upgrade a little bit
I
at
see.
that time, but
That's part of a longer range plan.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So I think Matt's described the option 1 there as it's presented to us. Greg?
Matt, is it prudent to be putting into the response up to 1/3 in this situation, just in case there is a major donator that does come forward with extra money, or is that something that in this respect, that wording doesn't need to be in there?
Yeah,
ahead, Matt, please.
That's a great question. If council looks at the current recreation services agreement, the fundraising, grants, donations, that is shared among the partners. So there is motivation for everybody involved, whether it's the Ag Society, the village, or the county. We're all motivated to find grant funding sources to minimize what the ultimate borrow needs to be. But I don't think you need to have the wording up to. We've agreed to 1/3, so if you're getting in, you kind of have an idea what pricing is. It's not going to be 1.3. It'll be different than that number. That's just the estimate. So if you're in for 1/3 and you're in for the framework of let's leverage the county's financial strength, guarantee that loan, we've got a path forward that it fits within the framework that the partners have already agreed to, committing $60,000 a year towards capital. The debenture just facilitates getting a $1.3 million project complete today.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Someone prepared to make the motion? Oh, go ahead, Adina.
I'd like to make a motion we go ahead with option 1 as recommended.
Thank you. Any further questions? All in favor, please indicate. Question?
Yeah, just one point of clarification. We would give 1/3 of the cost, and then on top of that loan, the other amount, right? They weren't the same thing. We're gonna give the 1/3 of the cost, but then as on top of that, the loan would be different from that, right? That would be an additional thing?
Carry the project, right? Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so the loan is to be determined. The Ag Society is going through their 5-year, and the things that maybe they want to defer, they're going to have that conversation. The things that they think it makes some sense to mobilize, and if we're doing a bathroom renovation in the curling club, the arena, and at the golf course, let's batch that work and put it out to market and hopefully realize some economies and some price savings there. All of the projects are intended to be funded out of the debt. The annual cash flow, which the county has already committed, $60,000 a year, would be used for the annual repayment on the debt, whatever that looks like. There is some appetite on the part of the Ag Society for the annual payments to be less than the $60,000 a year, so they've got some wiggle room to take care of the other projects, which are bound to pop up.
I was mostly just trying to clarify that the 1/3, the dollar amount we were given wasn't being turned into a loan. That was just our payment, and the loan and our payment were two separate things, right?
I'm not sure I understand the question. You're going to have the loan. Out of that cash amount, it will fund everybody's share of the project today. And then over the next 20 years, you're going to have the up to $60,000 coming and paying off that debt over time. So imagine $2.5 million, and out of that, 1.3 going to the ice plant, 600,000 going to the mezzanine, 150 for the parking lot, keep going out. But we're waiting for the detailed list. What you know today is you've committed up to 1/3 for the ice plant. The details, when we bring back the borrowing bylaw and the repayment agreement, that's where the rubber will hit the road, and council says, yeah, that's within the framework that was advertised at the March 6th council meeting.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Holly, and then Neil.
So looking at the quote, we are approving $433,000 today for the ice plant. So is that the max we can contribute, or could it go up? Which I think we need a ceiling of how much, because we don't really know what the cost is. I'm just want to know what we're committing before we say a third, because we don't know what that number actually is, or at least a ceiling on it.
Matt, please.
Yeah, you don't have the exact number today. That will be to be determined based on which quote is selected for the work. And, you know, the conversation going back to the Ag Society saying, all right, there's support for the ice plant and support in general for backstopping a loan up to Ag Society, tell us the dollar amount. And within that, you're going to be looking for the additional details on those other projects. But the upset limit is really going to be the amount that the Ag Society comes back and tells council they would like to borrow up to. Morgan, Vicky, their mechanics, they know the list of things that they have to get after. And if the opportunity is open to borrow up to $2.25 million, we're waiting to hear back from the Ag Society on how much they would like to borrow, and then we'll have the conversation with the village as well. But as it stands, there's agreement in principle to direct the $60,000 a year, which we've already committed to, towards the debt repayment to facilitate the loan.
Which is, yeah, part of our long-range agreement anyway. So, Morgan, and then Neil has a comment.
So if I was understanding it right on Monday, if we were to go ahead and do a $2.5 million loan and we were able to fundraise or get grants for $1 million, it would mean 1.5 split 3 ways of $500,000 over X amount of years to get it to that $60,000 per year. But any fundraising we get or any grants we get, like if somebody come and wanted to donate $200,000, that, or call it 210 because it's easier math, everybody would get a $70,000 break on it.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Neil?
It's kind of the end of Dan's question there. If the loan was 2.4 and the county says we're in for a third, why wouldn't we just cut a check for $800,000 and leave a $1.6 million loan?
Because it'll be serviced out of the $60,000 annual commitment that we have with the other parties to the agreement with the Duchess Ag Society, right, and the village.
But we've got reserves for this. We've got lots of reserves, so we're told a few hours ago. Why wouldn't we just use them?
Yeah, I think, go ahead.
Yeah, quick answer is the rate on the borrowing is lower than what you're making on your savings, right? So that's the idea, as well as the annual cash commitment.
Yeah.
I think council's likely going to find in the near future that what is socked away in the recreation fund is, and we've been advertising it for years, it's not sufficient to replace the existing portfolio of all recreation assets across the community. So, you know, you come up against the region's financial capacity to fund on an annual basis, and the region's need to replace these things as they come due, and trying to make that work. Debt is one of the areas we've got some flexibility to play and pay for it today, get it built, and then repay it over time from each of the partners.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor, right? For option 1, all in favor of the motion, please indicate. Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks for coming in today with the good information, and all the best. We look forward to continued work on that project. And we are just a little late, but we had a public hearing scheduled for 11:30 this morning. If we have a motion to move into a public hearing, I would accept that. Dan, all in favor that we move to a public hearing? That's carried. Thank you. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide the public an opportunity to obtain information from and provide information to council in an efficient and timely manner. And we are dealing with a couple of issues today, and I'll invite Maria to highlight the first one for us, please.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
The purpose of bylaw 2090-25 is to update the land use bylaw to include policy for airports and land surrounding airports within the county. This bylaw also includes policy to allow the Municipal Planning Commission some flexibility surrounding legal non-conforming buildings and to help create efficiencies in the development permit process. It is also proposing to amend definitions for secondary suites, internal and external. So including policy for airports and land surrounding airports within the county would mean that rather than the DC district having policy specific to each airport, that it would it would include policy that would be applicable for all airports within the county. So this would reduce the duplication of policy and ensure that all airport development is being developed in a similar manner. The policy to allow MPC some flexibility surrounding legal non-conforming buildings. There has been some internal discussion on the ability to develop or alter structures on legal non-conforming parcels. This amendment would authorize the Development Authority, so MPC, to decide on an application for development permit, even though the proposed development does not comply with the land use bylaw, or if the development is legal non-conforming and they want to alter that building. And then the last thing would be the definition of secondary suite, internal and external are proposed to be amended for clarity.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who's come to make a statement with regard to this, or anyone online wishing to make a public statement? Seeing none, we can move on to the next bylaw, right?
The next bylaw is Road Closure Bylaw 2092-25. The purpose of this application is to close road allowances adjacent to the east half of 31-1717 and lease to the applicant to facilitate a proposed pivot installation. Approval to proceed was given by council on February 6th. The lands are in Division 4, approximately 8 kilometers northwest of Bow City. The applicant would like to install a new irrigation system. That pivot is proposed to encroach and irrigate over the road allowance. The road closure will not impact legal access to any of the lands adjacent to the proposed road closure. It was circulated to adjacent landowners, internal departments, and required referrals, and there were no concerns.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Again, is there anyone wishing to make comment to council with regard to this road closure proposal? Nothing online? Okay. That means we can move out of our public hearing if I have a motion to do that. Holly? All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you, Maria. Appreciate that. Yeah, let's move to item number, which one? Capital funding request from Rolling Hills, and I see we have a delegation here to present to us. Welcome. I'm going to suggest that we begin with introductions immediately, and then we'll be interested in your presentation. So Neil, why don't you start?
Welcome to council, guys. I'm Neil Johnson, Division 10, Brooks.
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Division 8, Duchess.
Good morning, Ellen Unruh, and I represent the area around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, good morning, fellas. It's Greg Screever, Lake New Resort and Castles area.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Chrisman. I'm from the northwest side of the county.
Arno Dirksen, Division 9, the GEM area.
Welcome, Matt Fensky, CAO.
Welcome, Holly Johnson, Division 4.
Good morning. Adina Scandra, Division 2, Hamlet of Tilly and surrounding area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area. Welcome.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Kyle Davidson, representative of the Rolling Hills Ag Society.
Darcy Hempstein, Rolling Hills Ag Society.
And Dan Baumgarten, Rolling Hills Ag Society.
And we've got some people behind you too. Do we have a mic back there, Catherine, please?
Dave Stalber, Rolling Hills.
Barb Stabler, Rolling Hills.
Thank you. Welcome all. Thanks for coming in today. Go ahead. We'll be pleased to hear your presentation.
I'd just like to start off by thanking everybody for letting us come in to present from the Rolling Hills Ag Society. I've sent out a package, which I believe everybody's received the package. So I won't go through the package. I'll just basically touch on the high points, the low points. Originally, in 2022, we had our chiller have some issues at our arena. Our arena plant is about 33 years old originally. They come from Calgary from the Olympics, if everybody remembers the Olympics in Calgary in '88. So it's done very well, but we've been able to keep up with the compressor and our brine pump, but our main components, the chiller and the condenser, are all playing out. Our condensers cost us in the last 2 years, just try to keep it functioning, basically $70,000 that we took out of our own fundraising, money we've been raising to keep it going. We are approaching council today because we cannot proceed any farther with that chiller. The chiller's done. And we've already spent almost as much money as it is to buy a new one today. So we've gone through and we've done, let's start off here with what we've accomplished so far is we have gone out and applied for grants. We've also started fundraising. So as of today's date, we have fundraised $280, sorry. Guess I'll put these on the help too. The 62 in kind and donations, that's basically our labor from our volunteers to help tear out the chiller and going forward to put the new chiller in. The basic chiller to take out and take in, we can have volunteers to do that. We've had the main Freon guy, he's come in and sucked all the Freon, there's no more dangers. So the rest we're gonna do basically with volunteers to keep our costs down. We've also applied for grants from the government and any other ones that we could find out there that would take recommendations from us. Everybody probably knows we did do the craft hockey. We applied for that and did lots of letters, which was in the package. You could see we get some really good comments out in Rolling Hills. Our costs, basically, we spent, so this year was $47,000 to have the guy come to get our chiller back up to speed so we could run this year. Because we have prior commitments to hockey teams from Calgary, from Lethbridge, Medicine-Hat. We have teams come from Fort McMurray, Saskatoon, we've had teams this year. So we basically run anywhere from 8 to 10 tournaments a year that are booked. Calgary teams book them. We have 4 tournaments already booked for next year, starting in November. And that's when we start our plant up. So I have ice the 1st of November, and we run till the end of February. This is basically our season. And that gives us our 8 to 10 tournaments, which is all our tournaments are all outside people. All teams from Calgary, everywhere, it's all outside money that's brought into the county. We bring a ton of money into Brooks for the hotels and the restaurants. All the people stay here over the weekends. Usually come Fridays, they're here at least 2 nights. We have approached the hotels. They've given us donations this year. It's the first year they've given us donations for how much we do contribute to the town of Brooks in that aspect. So to replace our chiller, our quote, the best quote we got was $98,000 to do the chiller. if we did the condenser at the same time, and our condenser, according to him, is still, we can still probably get 2 or 3 years if we have to. But we thought if we were doing one project, why not do both? So the chiller and the condenser together would be about $236,000. We've also done budgeting and long-range capital projects, or capital planning, which everybody would receive. And that's almost more important to us as the Ag Society, because we take care of the hall, the golf course, like there's so many different increments into it, and we have all them boards all come aboard, and then we get together, where are we spending our money this year and going forward, right? We're trying to utilize our money, I guess, with the Ag Society and in the town of Rolling Hills wisely and where it's best needed. We want to keep bringing these people back. We want to bring in that outside money. When these teams show up, they talk about the lake. They come back in the summer. They go to Lake, the EID one. They go to Kimbrook. They keep coming back. So we want these people to keep coming. I don't know what more I can add. I guess that's where we sit. Matt might have a little bit more info on it than I do.
Okay, thanks. Darcy, go ahead, Matt.
Only thing I have to say about our ag societies is what a valuable part of our recreation service provision. Really impressed with Rolling Hills and Duchess Ag Societies getting together a couple of weeks ago to compare notes on their projects. Are there parts we can swap, lessons we can learn from each other? I think it's a great example of collaboration there. The annual funding that the county provides to the Rolling Hills Ag Society, they multiply it several times over. You'll see in their financial statements. They're a pretty good going concern down there, and it's a big part of the fabric of what makes that community a great place to be and to attract people to from all over the province. So I think there's a lot of success lessons that other organizations could look to Rolling Hills Ag Society on how they manage their operation down there. So the recommendation that administration has for council is that the option one, that council approves funding 50% of the Rolling Hills Ag Society ice plant replacement project costs in the amount of $160,290.58 as a Category 2 facility life extension major project long-term pre-planned initiative as outlined in the rec facility improvement funding policy, contingent on all necessary permits and approvals being obtained prior to construction.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Any further questions or someone prepared to make a motion? Go ahead, Kelly, please.
I have a question for you. You've chosen to stay with Freon, is that correct?
This is correct.
And your thinking on that is, you've done, I mean, you're in the business, so you know the business. From my experience, there's talk about maybe regulations changing and things like that. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I've talked to several different people in that area. Nobody can really pinpoint whether Freon's going to disappear or not. Like, for them to disappear with Freon, all our vehicles, all your Freon's got to come out of every vehicle, every tractor out there, anything that has an air conditioner, they're going to have to eliminate the Freon. What are they going to replace it with? And that's a big cost, right? So the Freons are changing. They're becoming more environmentally friendly. The one we run now definitely is not as good as the old Freon, for sure. And I think everybody, if you've got a newer vehicle, you can tell they don't get as cold as the older ones used to. But for our situation and the months that we run, it's usually fairly cold outside. Our plant really doesn't work that hard.
I was referring to Freon in arenas specifically. I wasn't thinking, vehicles and the use of Freon in general. We were told, I don't know, I'm going to say 6 years ago, that there was talk of all arenas having to change to the ammonia plant.
And the only one was Sanitec was the only one in Medicine Hat. that said that they don't do anything but ammonia plants. And both the other ones out of Calgary that we got quotes from, they said Freon.
No problem.
There was no issues, so.
Okay.
And I guess from a safety point, I really have an issue with ammonia, because if you listen to all these issues that plants are having, arena plants are having, they're all ammonia leaks. You never hear of a Freon leak that's killed people. But you got ammonia. Look at Fernie, took down 3 guys, and they were supposed to be experienced ammonia men.
Yeah.
Ammonia does scare us. As a board, we've had this discussion, and it scares us.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that's almost a different discussion than we're facing today, but go ahead.
Just one thing to note, the equipment that we're purchasing, if regulatory bodies say that we cannot use Freon anymore, that chiller and that condenser can be then retrofitted into a ammonia system, so this money isn't wasted. So this $330,000 is not a lost cause. It's not good money going after bad. It's can be utilized then to a new retrofit for ammonia.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Holly, or?
Just a small thing. First of all, I really appreciate you guys always come with a good information package, and as council, it makes our decisions a lot easier when we're presented with all the information. Just a question though, do you see any teams or any people from the city of Brooks coming out to use it?
We haven't. To date, we haven't. We've offered it out there. We've given all sorts of pricing. That 10 minutes farther than Duchess or whatever just seems to trigger people. So.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
And one other question that I had in my notes was, do you participate in the county-run Rec Connect program?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. I'll make a motion as recommended.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of, Dan, go ahead.
Not a question. I just feel like I haven't made any comments. It feels wrong that I'm not saying anything. So I just want to say that I'm really appreciative of you guys coming in and doing what you've done. So there, I have said something.
You have. That's good. Thanks, Lynette.
I'd just like to say they did such a good job, you didn't need to say anything.
And we thank you.
Yeah. All in favor of the motion as presented, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. And I'll add our thanks for coming in with a good presentation and for the good work that you do in the Rolling Hills area on behalf of all of us. It's good.
Thank you very much for listening to us. And yes, this is getting easier every time we have to present it. And I can totally understand sitting where you're sitting, how the information helps. And it eliminates a lot of questions, I believe.
Yeah. And it's good to be able to help the fabric and dynamic of the communities from this office too. Thank you. Thanks. I think lunch is here. I'm going to suggest we break for lunch and try to reconvene about 20 to 1. Does that work? Yeah. Let's move to item number 8.1, which is bylaw 2088-25, Bassano Airport. Maria, welcome again.
Thank you. The purpose of this application is to redesignate the lands at the Bassano Airport from business, rural district, and special parks and public service to direct control district. Council gave first reading to the land use amendment application on January 16th, and the public hearing was held on February 20th. At that meeting, an adjacent landowner spoke to council with concerns regarding viewscapes, noise, and property values. If noise became a problem in the future, the county has the community standards bylaw to control the noise impacts on adjacent landowners. The Development Authority can also include conditions on development permits to ensure the noise is only permissible during the appropriate times of day. After the public hearing closed, council directed administration to add policy to the DC district that would help alleviate the concerns with viewscapes. So there was an addition to the bylaw that included a policy that says shipping containers will be in good repair and painted to ensure consistency and compatibility with nearby buildings. It is recommended that council provide third reading to this bylaw.
Thank you, Maria. Are there any questions? Or someone prepared to move third reading? Amanda, please.
I'll move third reading.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Kelly, you've got a question? Go ahead.
I do. Maria, we had, as you mentioned, the delegation come in. Could we close the loop with them by offering them this information and thanking them for coming in? Would that be amendable to everybody? Just to close the loop. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Good, thank you. Let's move on to item number 8.2, bylaw 2090-25, land use bylaw text amendments for the airports, second and third reading. Go ahead, Maria, please.
I can be quick. This is a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw with policy regarding airports, giving the MPC some flexibility surrounding legal non-conforming buildings, and also updating definitions of secondary suites. There were no concerns raised at the public hearing or given to administration prior to today, and it is recommended that second and third reading be given.
Thank you. Someone prepared to move second reading. Adina, please. All in favor, please indicate. And third reading. Greg, all in favor of approving third reading, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, which one is that? Okay. Road closure, right? Yep. Bylaw 2092-25, and that's first reading, right? Go ahead, please. Yes. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Thank you. This application is to close the road allowances adjacent to the east half of 311717 to allow for a proposed pivot installation. The lands are in Division 4, approximately 8 kilometers northwest of Bow City. There were no concerns raised by adjacent landowners or required referrals, and nothing came up during the public hearing, and it is recommended that council give first reading.
Thank you, Maria. Is someone prepared to give? Go ahead, Ellen, please.
Motion for first reading?
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Painless. Appreciate it. Thank you. Lane? Oh, Lane's doing the, okay, yeah. We'll go to 8.4, bylaw 2098-25, the fire bylaw, first reading, right? Welcome, Lane.
So this is a follow-up to the discussion that took place during the February 20th council meeting. Requests were made for some revisions before first reading was granted. We have made the changes that were requested and asking for first reading today if council's comfortable with what you've been presented with.
Okay, are Are there any questions or comments? Go ahead, Kelly.
There is just a question under the attachment C, where it talks about fires. It says that there shall be no fires between sunset and sunrise. And when I was reading it, I'm just like, what? That's when you have a fire.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the fires that it's referring to are controlled burns for which a permit has been issued. And the preference is that you don't have flames that are showing during the dark, because that's when calls are going to be submitted. It's just best practice to have those burns ignited early in the day and extinguished by the end of the day.
So I just took something out of context and thought it meant fire pit. Yeah, okay.
But
Did you find it?
I think the discrepancy or the question I have about that is, I think it says they need to be extinguished at dark or before dusk, and I mean, some of these burns that are happening out in the country, they're down, but they're still hot for a couple of days without being a risk to anything. How do we fit that in? Go ahead.
Ideally, it should be out. The departments do not want to have flames actively burning during the evening period or at night. It's recognized that quite often it will continue to just smolder for a time. I guess the bylaw does provide for actions to be taken if it flares back up and there's a need for some penalties to be applied. Mm-hmm. Ideally, when the burn is taking place, they're supposed to be there on site supervising it to make sure that it's not going to get out of control. Those are all precautions that they should be taking, and having it extinguished by the time darkness sets in is another one of those precautions.
Okay, Dan, please go ahead.
As a volunteer firefighter, I've never been called out to a fire pit or a fire burn permit that's had glowing embers, but we have been called out because people see actual fire and they call the fire department. So that makes sense, that not have open flame at night, because we'll get called.
Okay, I have a question. 7.4 fireworks. That basically covers anything, including some pretty small fireworks, right? Like, should there be a threshold there? Because, and I'm not saying there should be, but I'm asking the question because there are some pretty basic, call them family fireworks, that people get from time to time that probably don't get permitted. And I'm concerned about putting people offside with still believing that they need to exercise common sense, which I know isn't as common as it used to be. But should there be a threshold there?
That's a good question. I'm not sure myself what the differences are with the ratings of fireworks, and maybe we should investigate further and consider a threshold for lower rated hazards. I don't have that information at this point, and Stuart's not here right now.
Yeah. It's a question that I would urge us to basically maybe consider, because I expect there are ratings of those. There certainly are when you buy them. Not that I know much about it. I don't have experience with it other than by observation. So, yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Go ahead, Lane, please.
So We are requesting first reading. We do anticipate going through a process inviting public comment, and there will be opportunity for revisions between now and third reading if there is a need for changes to be made.
Okay, good, thank you. Is someone prepared to move first reading? Lynette?
Yeah, I'll move first reading, and maybe you should look at the ratings on the fireworks just to see if you could make some kind of, I don't know, schedule or something.
Yeah, I'm not
if
sure
that's even appropriate.
what's reasonable or practical, but it seems to me that the fact that they're rated indicates that they're not all the same, but we're treating them as though they're all the same. And I hesitate, like I think we should, where we can, resist passing bylaws that put people offside that don't pose a threat to anyone's. And it's still, with all of those things, and I think it's still in the bylaw that common sense and good judgment is required in any case, right? So Holly, go ahead, and then Matt.
Could you just refresh me on how long we advertise and how it's advertised?
It is going to be advertised in the newspaper, on the website, social media posts. It's going to be advertised for the next month. We plan on bringing it back for further consideration in the first meeting in April.
Okay, thanks. Lane, Matt, you comment.
I was just going to comment on common sense. If common sense was as common, we wouldn't need as many provisions within a bylaw. And I think the bylaw really is targeted to folks who may not have the common sense and put their neighbors at risk. So the question I always ask myself when there's a provision in a bylaw that I think is maybe an overreach is, would I, as a neighbor to somebody who might not have the common sense of when to light off a lower rated firework, if my place starts on fire, what action can the county take? So a lot of how we build our bylaws is enabling us to respond when there is an event. So if that person without common sense lights the firework, are we empowered, are our CPOs empowered to go and enforce penalties on folks who might need an education?
Yeah, well, clearly with this we are, yeah. So I mean, and I appreciate the conundrum a little bit too. And I guess we can't use good judgment as I mean, that's an immeasurable commodity, I guess, so yeah. Go ahead, Kelly.
I want to take you back to Schedule C because I found where I can quote. It's 1.2. It says all fires are extinguished by sunset and no burning is to be conducted between sunset and sunrise. It's very clear. It covers burn pits, burn piles, burn bush. So a burn pit, is that not a social gathering? No?
No, a burn pit is a hole in the ground where you've been dumping garbage to be burned. A recreational fire pit is what is used for your backyard.
Recreational fire pit then. Okay. Just so long as we're clear on that.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I agree with Kelly here, Lane, that the definition of fire does include recreational fire pit. So that should probably be spelled out because the definition is a flame, but it also in 2.10, the definition of fire includes recreational fire pit.
So we need something specifically stating that recreational fire pits are exempt from the restriction of burning when it's dark. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, that can still be adjusted even if we provide first reading.
Did we vote?
You moved first reading? No. Yes, you did, yeah. All in favor of passing first reading? That's carried, thank you. And Lane has heard our comments. for some, pardon me?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Lane. Let's move to our, John and Mark. Mark is here. Welcome, Mark. Item number 8.5, bylaw 2094-25, animal control, first reading.
Afternoon, Council. Quite clear in the RFD that while addressing a customer service request, just found that alignment between the numbers and the schedule for penalties was not aligning. So asking for the amendments as presented to the animal control bylaw.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? This is for first reading as well.
Yeah, I don't know, through the chair of the CAO, I don't know, do you think we go all three with consent? It's not something that's going to change anything that affects people other than we can actually affect the change necessary.
I don't have them in front of me now, but when I read that, I wondered if there was maybe just a reread that needed to be done that was not, and I can't itemize it, but if we pass first reading, that there's still time for that. Because it seemed to me like similar to the last one where there might have been some wording that looked like it was in contradiction with other parts of it, but I'd have to.
First reading is fine if somebody can identify that.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, that's good to do. Good to go. Okay, Kelly, moving first reading. All in favor that we pass first reading? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Schedule of fees, 8.6, Matt, third reading. 3 readings, pardon me. 3 readings, yeah.
Yeah, so exciting times for CDC South. Credit to Todd and Candace and all of the tire kickers they've been entertaining and all the time they've been spending over there getting ready for the county to take over management April 1st. We have crunched some numbers, talked to some industry experts, gauged risk tolerances, looked at budget numbers that we received from Alberta Infrastructure for what this place might be costing us. There's a lot of excellent insight that Todd and Candace and Joe have gained going through the buildings over there at CDC South and seeing how things are operating. We're confident there's going to be room for cost efficiencies over there. What we have proposed for fees, you'll see $650 an acre for land, various rates per square foot, whether you're office space or greenhouse bays. There's opportunity for us on each of the land parcels. Some of them are configured kind of funny. So we're going to be looking at over the next year, how can we configure those spaces so we can rent more land out. We had a really good news announcement coming out of the provincial budget that there's $3 million in capital directed towards taking care of some of the deferred maintenance out there. Well, we're optimistic we've got some runway to get this thing off the ground. This morning, the CDC South Revitalization Committee met, and we had an invited guest, David Hoekstra, who is ARDAR's strategic advisor on the CDC South file. David's been an excellent friend so far. He's pulled his contacts together, was out walking through the greenhouse, and that saved us $750,000 out of the gate. We thought we were going to have to replace the Argus control system, and apparently that system is still serviceable. So we're optimistic there's more to be learned, but we think with these rates, we've got a line of sight to cost recover on that property. Administration did run through various scenarios this morning with the CDC South Revitalization Committee on, if all the land that we've identified as marketable and all the office space and greenhouse is rented out, what that looks like for revenue, what it looks like if only 80% is locked down, what it looks like at 60%. what do the expenses look like if we can realize 20% cost savings, 15%, 10%, kind of that worst case scenario. And so I'm just recalibrating on that $800,000 amount I threw out in a previous meeting in response to the question, well, how much could the county potentially be on the hook for? That 800,000 now looks more like 450 under a worst case scenario. In the best case scenario, we run a little bit of a surplus, and that doesn't include all of the revenue lines that we intend to be charging for. So cost recovery for any county staff time or Alberta agriculture staff time. Those will be revenue lines we didn't include in our model. We will have a vehicle and equipment lease with Alberta Ag, so we get to use their equipment at nominal cost, and we will be charging that back to anybody who needs to use it at road builder guides rates. Those include a bit of a margin. So we're confident that we've at least got a runway, 2025, 2026. There's some excellent candidates that are eager to put pen to paper. The recommendation coming out of CDC South Revitalization Committee this morning was to approve these fees as presented. I am open for questions on the CDC file.
Right. Any questions? Greg, go ahead.
These lease agreements, are they a 5-year lease? Commercial leases are 5 years minimum with leasehold improvements are the bearer of the person leasing. So are they 5-year commitments, or what's the term?
We will be open for negotiating. Currently, there are no agreements. The agreement is currently with Brownlee. They're reviewing it, comparing what the county is obligated to discharge in terms of our responsibilities to Alberta infrastructure and ensuring that we've downloaded those provisions to our sublessees. Ideally, we'd like to pen agreements for a decade with folks who are looking for office space or greenhouse. We want a line of sight. Beggars can't be choosers at year one, so we're going to see what the market brings at us. But appreciate the insights on commercial leases.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Go ahead. Matt, pardon me.
Yeah, and remember that the 5-year lease, the rate is locked for 5 or 10 years. So, barring any cost increases and things, we can't change those rates until the lease is up. So, I'd be for definitely 5 or 10, but 5 is reasonable.
Probably in this case depends what the lease says, because I think what we're keeping open is the opportunity to change the rate. I mean, some of it's indoor space, but some of it's plot space to grow crops, and I think there's a lot of good work gone into figuring out what a starting space should be or what a starting price should be, but that may change over time depending on the demand and what the uptake is. So I think they're going to be quite variable, and there's groups that want to try. And the other thing is, as Todd pointed out, and we know that we're late to the starting gate this year because we didn't get this till December and ... So in the future, we'll hopefully we get 2025 behind us or well into it, and we'll start to see a line of sight for the future that hopefully looks pretty good, because there seems to be a lot of interest. I mean, any other questions? Someone prepared to provide or move first reading for bylaw 2095-25, Dan? All in favor of first reading, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Similarly, second reading, Holly? All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Third reading, Greg? Pardon me? Consent for third. Consent for third, right.
I'll make consent.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate.
Then third.
Now third reading. Kelly, please. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Appreciate that you're here. No. Dan, go ahead.
Can we go back to that animal control bylaw? I looked through, the only changes are very minimal, and the numbers have changed. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty minimal. I think we can waive consent on that one and just get it done for our staff as well. There's two sentences that have changed that are really, it does nothing that I can see. There's no significant changes here to this.
So you'd like to move, you'd like to move second reading?
I would, yeah.
We can do that? Okay. You've heard the motion. All in favor of second reading? That is carried. Thank you, Dan. And now consent for third reading, right? We need that to do it the same day. Holly? All in favor of providing consent for third reading? Now third reading. Neil? Thank you. All in favor of third reading? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you. That's good. Municipal services business, right? Pardon me?
Apologies, I was rereading a bylaw and then I heard the three motions provided, so thank you very much.
Oh. Sorry to waste your time.
It's all good, it's all good, appreciate it.
Okay, municipal services report.
Yeah, so update for the previous month, we've had some interesting weather. Welcome to Southern Alberta. Wait 10 minutes and you get the polar opposite, right? So interesting things for municipal enforcement. Fish and Wildlife now have 2 new officers designated to this area. I'm not sure when they're going to start. The gentleman that had been here is now based out of, I believe, the Strathmore office. So these are 2 brand new people to our region, but it's great to hear that we're getting 2. We'll knock on wood and hopefully they stay for a long period of time because that has not been the case. Youth Police Academy in Brooks with Safe Communities. We had Officer Burgess participate in that. Went really well. Happy to be part of that. AFRAX Radio Shared Talk Group. We talked with K-Division about radios, communications, things like that. This thing is progressing rather well. So just working through the proper use of communicating through RCMP language, I guess I would say, proper communications. And the Tabor Police Service changeover of service provisions and stuff is ongoing. Lots of progress has been made. There's no hang-ups and they're not waiting for anything on our part. So we're waiting for them to get our system set up. We'll have officer training and administrative training for entering customer service requests in through the system. And that is looking to be good for us. So Fleet Services took the initiative to go and purchase our annual inventory of those goods that we thought may be subject to tariff impacts. So that is done. I guess if a sale comes along, my bad, but I wanted to protect the taxpayer from 25% increase and having to speak with a new council in October for more money. It's not how I want to kick off a new engagement session. So we did do that. So we're positioned really well. Sounds like we've had some staff talking with our neighbors, and our neighbors we're kind of perking their ears up, so it doesn't sound like they quite went down the road as us, but we're like, ooh, maybe we should have been going down the same thought process as you. So darned if you do, darned if you don't, I guess. We'll know in the end, but I used the budget that council approved, and we bought our annual supply, and that's where we're at. Summer-like weather. Plow trucks, risk of major winter storms. A couple of them will remain rigged up and accessible to get plows and stuff on, but we're rigging out for summer activities so we can get more gravel stockpiled because that just hasn't been favorable for us with the number of winter events that we've had to respond to with those trucks. As you can see in the operations, we're only 67% complete the stockpiling program. So we're behind and we want to get that on target so we're ready for our summer programs. Community entrance signs. Wow, those turned around really fast and look really fantastic. As much as yourselves and the public can't see them yet, they're sitting in the shop, diligently wrapped so they don't get damaged, and installation planned for spring when we can get new posts mounted in the ground and stuff and just get the complete refurbishment done. So administrative preparations for the 2025 dust abatement program are also taking place, so working on making sure that we got all of our numbers updated to reflect the schedule of fees and the small increase in the cost to dust abatement this season, and get those out and ready for people. Phase 2, Contract 3 of the Rural Water Project, letters advising of the construction updates to those people that are not yet connected due to lines not being in the ground did go out, informing them what they can expect, timelines and such, and until you receive that letter saying that you are now cleared to be active to come get your flow emitter, please be patient with us and we'll get there. Contract 4 remains on schedule. And I'll just say that both of those contracts were delayed when we hit those -30s, -40s. Just, it's not good for people to be working, particularly with water and stuff, because nothing goes well in those periods. Bridge replacements, things are going all right there. Design taking place. Bow City should have anticipated this, but we do have northern leopard frogs at that bridge file, so environment has us going through the extra steps to deal with that, so that project will be deferred until fall. And Lake Newell Resort for Councillor Screever, blocks 1 and 4, Blue Heron, White Pelican, the road rehabilitation, looking at an open house for everybody, get that engagement. There will be impact to people accessing properties throughout the construction of that, as much as ourselves and the successful contractor, when tenders go out and are awarded, will have proposals to accommodate as best as possible, but there is definitely going to be some impact to residents down there for this season if it kicks off. Additionally, we have an engineering supervisor in place starting here on the 14th of March. 5 applicants. Then we're going to blow the doors off everybody. If you read my report, general administrative assistant, we hit 99 applications because they're still trickling in even though it isn't advertised. And we have an accepted offer conditional of some things happening before I say anything more about it. But we were thrilled and very, very competitive competition. Yeah. Best problem I've had in 16 years. Unbelievable. So that's my update. Any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Thanks, Mark. Lynette, please.
What would your normal percentage of gravel hauled be at this time of the year that you're only at 67?
Pushing into that mid-80s to 90 that we're just about set, but due to just the winter responses, plow trucks had to have the sanders on them rather than the gravel boxes trucking, so.
Thanks. Mark, Holly.
So I see the water equipment, of course, has been sitting for a number of weeks now. So given the ground is and still fairly frozen, but the top is very wet, when do you expect them to be back in business?
So pending type of property and things like that, they are working. They're all out there working. I went through BYLAWS Subdivision west of Duchess. Crews were mobilized in over there, and I had caught them earlier Saturday morning in another location. So they've been moving around for contract 3, contract 4. They're also doing the same thing. They're moving, but not always where everybody thinks they are. Most of them have more than one drill and more than one set of equipment. So I could be wrong. Jeff's on vacation. He's more familiar with everything, but most everybody is working.
Thanks, Mark. Adina?
Just wondering if you're getting a lot of complaints, like on Newell Connect possibly, about frozen culverts and flooded roads. Nothing yet?
Hate to jinx it, probably one of the best years. Thaw, I believe, has gone relatively well. Just ask again, I know I've said this in the past, people need to be patient. Drains need to thaw, receiving basins need to be able to receive. If they're full of snow, full of ice, water's not going anywhere. Unless council wants to get into a new service provision where we run around and we start digging snow and ice out of ditches, because I don't know where we're going to put it, you have to let the system work itself. And, you know, that's why we've been trying to build that extra capacity in overland flood prone areas with the Eastern Irrigation District. And I'll say there are some areas that had customer service requests come in where people have said they weren't interested in participating in it. So it's been actually pretty great with where we've been. I haven't seen a whole lot come through the system, few frozen culverts, but Terry's here. Culverts that have normally been frozen up and caused us problems, that's not where the problems were. They've been in other isolated areas, and be patient. Terry's always told me, give it 24, 48 hours, 72, and if there's still a problem, then maybe we should move on it. But if it's not impacting a home, putting somebody's livelihood at risk, can it just sit there? Because the sooner you move it downstream, you also cause problems for people downstream as well.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Any other questions? If not, a motion to approve the municipal reports or accept the municipal reports. Greg?
I move the report.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Now, item number 12.3, the tender award for the Lake Newell Resort Pathway. Mark.
Lake Newell Resort tender award pathway for the pathway. So tendered, you can see that we received 4 bids on this, so you have competitive pricing in this case. I know that was a question when we did the Kinbrook Connection Pathway Partnership. Previous conversation with council on funding. My understanding is we have not received anything formal back saying that we have received the CCBF grant monies. So before you today is a choice to award the contract, and we can look at using the infrastructure fund to fund that, or we trust that the money from CCBF is going to come in and you're comfortable awarding on that basis as previously discussed with the CAO. Are there any concerns about that?
Thanks, Mark. Matt, you've got a comment, eh?
Yeah, just picking up on the grant and where that's at. So I did reach out to a grant advisor with Municipal Affairs and, hey, can you fast track this thing for us? That'd be awesome. Like, I'll buy you a beer next time we're up at RMA or something. No, there's no option to fast track it, but your council doesn't need to wait to award it. So I sent this grant advisor a recap. So you're telling me the minister is going to approve it, falls within the guidelines, and we're all good to go. It's going to be approved. Well, it's less likely that it would be rejected by the minister. So I can't guarantee that this is going to be approved for CCBF grant funding. My sense is it's going to be approved for the grant funding. In the event that the grant funding doesn't come through because the minister doesn't want to fund a pathway, my strategy that I would recommend to council is we'll redirect the grant funding to a project we had proposed to fund from the infrastructure fund and use those infrastructure fund dollars in the event that the grant is not successful. So 6 of one, half dozen of another. They're all resources available to county to get projects done. But we are up against, this is the last meeting for you to make a decision, and our recommendation is award it. And if we need to shuffle money out of pockets to meet grant programs, we have plenty of projects on the docket with funding intended to come from the infrastructure fund that we could redirect the CCBF towards.
Okay, thank you. Neil?
Yeah, I'm prepared to move to award that tender to the low bidder. Grant or no grant, we're in it this deep now. Let's get it over with.
Okay, thank you. I've been requested to hold a recorded vote for this motion. So what I'm going to suggest, we can discuss, is there discussion on this first? And then I'm going to suggest that we vote individually. Greg.
Yeah, I like the idea of, I understand that the grant isn't approved, and we do have other jobs in the works that would be normally approved. So it's in taking the money from one hand, putting it in the other, that type of thing. Because this tender is important to get approved right away, I think it's important to proceed with it.
Okay, thank you. Dan, please.
Well, my thinking is if it was that easy to just take the money from one and put it in the other anyways, why do we wait in the beginning? If we were just going to do it without approval, if we're going to end up potentially having to do it without approval, why do we even go down that path? And if something happens, we've increased that by a lot for our ratepayers. That was what my point the last time, and I'm not ready to make that decision for them that this goes from up to 1.5 from 1, and now all their taxes go up. We'll be the enemy, and rightfully so. I'm not ready to make that decision for them.
Okay, Matt?
So to be clear, there's no tax impact associated with this project beyond the 10% increase going to the local improvement properties. The grant funds is kind of 6 of one, half dozen of another in my mind. So the county has resources available. We've earmarked X amount of dollars from the infrastructure fund in 2025 going towards Lake Newell Resort blocks 1 and 4. We're starting on the 15-0 truck route. Like there's several projects that would qualify for the CCBF. And to answer the first question, if we can just take it out of one pocket, put it into the other, why didn't we consider that? We would have preferred that the grant would have been approved. So this is a timing thing with the grant advisor and your CAO not thinking of, well, let's just award the tender and get it done, and not being aware of the timelines, 10 weeks for a grant approval.
Thanks, Matt. We're ready for the question? Oh, Holly, go ahead, please.
So is there any risk of another project being delayed if we don't get this grant then?
No.
Okay. I'll call the question and I'll ask, we'll just go around the room and start with Neil and just say your division and whether you're yay or nay, I guess. Yeah.
Division 10, nay, or yay, pardon me. Yes.
Yeah. Amanda, please. Yeah.
Division 8, yay.
Division 7, nay.
Division 5, yay.
Division 6, yes.
Division 9, yay.
Division 4, yay.
Division 2, yay.
Div 1, yay.
Division 3, yes.
Okay, that is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Let us move to item number 12.4, right? Vehicle recovery and equipment recovery. Welcome, Terry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm just here today to, we're going to try to make a little bit of progress here in the next month or two on updating some policy. So I brought here a policy. It's a pretty small one. We probably implemented, I guess we brought it out in 2015. Basically, it came about of lots of questions asked when and where and how can we pull out vehicles ours, other vehicles and stuff like that. Kind of started out with pulling out school buses and stuff like that too. So we got some clarification at that time of when, where, and how to pull them out. Mark did a little bit of work and went to OnForm's website and kind of got like a little bit of a policy and some procedures for us to follow. So staff had a little bit of guidance on there too. So been working good ever since. Staff know that they're stuck. They give us a shout. And we get some pictures or go take a boo, and it's either a thumbs out or call for help. So anything really big, really stuck, I just get somebody to go yank it out because it's just safer and we're not trading for it. So anyway, this policy here, the only changes in it really is Inform has been changed to Energy Safe Canada, and the program changed to Vehicle Recovery Guidelines. I did print it off, a little bit of reminder, a little bit of updates for us to go through. So yeah, that's about it. A little bit of name change, so we just recommended the policy 0262-25 tow and recovery be approved as presented.
Thank you, Terry. Any questions? Or a motion to approve the, as recommended? Lynette, motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the policy as recommended.
As recommended, option 1. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. That was easy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. We are to post agenda items, and I think there are not any. So I would entertain a motion to go in camera. Kelly, all in favor that we move in camera? That is carried. Thank you.